Good afternoon. Some enthusiastic starters. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to Fintech Africa this afternoon under the title, The Future of Investing in Fintech in Africa. This is our third iteration of the platform, and to be frank, we've been overwhelmed by the response. Never in our wildest dreams did we imagine we'd get so many fantastic speakers and audience members and such a large audience together. And so it's with great thanks and gratitude that I stand here today and say that this event is happening because of you. We've had people contact us from Cape Town, London, Paris, Singapore, Washington, DC. There are a multitude of countries and cities interested in fintech as we speak. And that, in my opinion, the reason they've contacted us, I'd like to suggest that it's our excellent marketing. But I believe that it's as a result and a testament to you for the fantastic businesses and technologies that you're building. Our community is growing and will continue to grow, and two things lead me to believe this. The first one is generosity. Some of you may know that we have a CFO community. Are there any CFOs here today? Okay, good, I can say what I like. CFOs are a great breed, but a very different breed. But the generosity of the fintech community has been fantastic. People are here today, world-class leaders in their field, startup leaders, CEOs, people out of the corporate world, and they've all given of their time and energy without me having to pay for them. It's fairly rare that you get people contributing at that level so regularly. Even some of our guests have said, how have you pulled this off? Perhaps it's just the need and the timing is right. And the second thing that leads me to believe our community will grow is collaboration. I've been truly amazed at how collaborative the fintech community is, how willing people are to share. There are a number of people I need to thank who helped us make that possible. But again, I would suggest that generosity and collaboration are the key both to the future of this environment and ecosystem and of our own community. Some very quick thank yous to Frik Landman, who's with us today, the CEO of USB Executive Development, and his wonderful team, some of whom are in the room and have put countless hours into doing this. We thank you for your facilities, for your hospitality, for making it possible for us to get this group of people together. We thank you very much. To Leanne Dutoy. Leanne, are you here? She's not. From Cape Silicon Initiative. Leanne is one of those people who really embodies generosity and collaboration. And when we reached out to her and said that we were bringing a fintech event to Cape Town, she sent me a list of names and contacts and made an effort to introduce me to people. So Leanne and the Cape Silicon Initiative, is anyone from Cape Silicon Initiative here? No? Sorry, thank you for the correction. Silicon Cape Initiative, anybody from Silicon Cape? Thank you for the generosity. To all of the speakers for giving up your time and attention, probably the most precious resource you have. You all have busy lives and demanding careers, and I thank you for that. To one special guest in particular, Nicole Anderson of Fintech Circle Innovate, who made the effort to come out from London and share with us. Nicole's been a big supporter. She sees the opportunities, I'm sure, for her own business, but to have somebody commit and fly from London for a local event in Cape Town is really remarkable, and we're grateful to you. I would like to ask Frik Landman to come up and say a few words, and I ask that you give me your time and attention, and then we'll kick off. The program is quite long today. If I see flagging spirits or people falling asleep on the desk, maybe we'll take a quick break. Otherwise, I would also just encourage you to be very participative. Please correct me when I misstate things. That's going to happen a bit. And feel free to get involved and ask questions. Frik, thanks very much and welcome.
It is the academic atmosphere that gets them to correct you. So ladies and gentlemen, if you look at that title, I can do welcome and I can do Africa, but I can't do fintech. And that's why I found it daunting coming here to come and welcome you. because I initially thought, and I'm glad you asked in terms of CFOs, because I thought in the presence of tech-savvy people and CFOs, I don't have a lot of money, I'm not tech-savvy, so I have to wear a tie to be just different from the lot of you. I want to, as form of welcome, tell you a story. I have got one story with two sub-stories, and that's the story of Africa. And maybe you may find some resonance in why you are here and what you're about to discover in what and how I see Africa at the moment. This is a strange continent in the sense that we are simultaneously the richest continent in the world because we have 60% and more of the world's arable land, 42% of its resources. Of the billion people, about 640 million are under the age of 24. We have a youth complement of note. Almost a human dividend there that could become a human disaster if we do not turn this potential that sits on this continent into wealth for all. And at the same time, if you look at this continent, it is the poorest continent in the world. A few years ago, and I'm taking out some insurance here, it's a few years ago, that the Eastern Cape is the poorest province in South Africa. Of the 53 countries in Africa, only 8 had a bigger GDP than the Eastern Cape. You find this as an enigma almost to say what is happening on this continent. If you look at the intra-Africa trade, we trade with the rest of the world, but we don't trade with each other. The intra-Africa trade is less than 10%. So what do we do in terms of brand Africa in this process? So how do we add value to this continent and really turn it around? You've been reading the papers. I can show you a little video that was now What's Up to Me. I can some of the protests currently happening in Stellenbosch. Now we may become very angry with these students, but if you think of the possibilities that sit in this country, and you think of the frustrations that we are creating as the leaders in business, in politics, in society, the frustrations we are creating by not turning our assets around and our wealth around for wealth for all in the process, this is going to increase. We saw signals coming from Egypt. We saw it in Northern Africa happening. That's Africa. So USB Ed, this is the sub-story. USB Ed is a company with the University of Stellenbosch has got the majority shares in us. We broke away from the normal model from a business school. We left MBA and the academics behind in the Faculty of Economic Management and Sciences, and we took everything else out and created a public company so that we can become flexible, focus on what we do. Because we said, if you look at Africa, there's no panacea, but if we can touch the lives of leaders and managers in Africa, then at least we stand a chance if we focus on that variable to have the biggest effect on the continent. Because after they have left you, they are still poor, but they now at least have the skills to manage themselves out of poverty at some point. And that's why we started to operate from Cape Town, Gauteng, KZN, and then we're currently operating in 13 different African countries in that space. And in that sense, I am excited to listen to you today to see to what extent is there resonance and connections between what we do in South Africa and the rest of Africa and how faintly, however, we can touch points. The other sub-story I want to tell you, I'm on the board of Senfree, and maybe this would be more in your crowd. I am part of a center that is called the Center for Financial Regulation and Inclusion. And sometimes I tell them at Senfree, I think they are the best kept secret in Africa. They do absolute fantastic work. It's a think tank working in terms of financial and regulation and inclusion to get to a point where they can actually get the unbanked into the system in that space. So you would hear concepts like credit and payments and with M-Pesa, etc. Three things that would interest you of Senfree in this conversation. One is, and you can go and have a look at the detail on their website. They have something which they call MAP, making access to financial services possible, where they would go into a country and map the financial inclusion environment, and that feeds into a roadmap where multiple stakeholders will then participate in executing on that. The other one that they work is what they call eye to eye. These are young people working there, so they've got all of these kind of strange acronyms. And eye to eye, it is insight to impact, where they saw that the people operating in the financial sector, especially around data, have a need to have a platform where they can, in a better way, interrogate and have access to better data or interrogate data better in that space. But I think the other thing that they're busy with, especially resonating with you, what they call InnoLab. I've just had a word with Andre, and he said, there's a conundrum that you have to solve in that space there. And that is, in InnoLab, we want to take the research that Senfree does and link it up with innovative companies that want to create disruptive technologies, etc., especially bringing new products and services to the bottom of the pyramid in terms of financial inclusion in that space. So if you are in any way interested, please go to their website. So now you have seen that I'm like a politician. It doesn't matter whether it's a funeral or a wedding. I have a story to tell, and I will tell you that. Welcome to Stellenbosch and to USBet. Thank you.